Welcome to Golden Mastermind Seminars Radio with your host, Jeffrey Combs.
Jeffrey Combs, welcome to Two for Tuesday. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm going to go ahead and do a little modification here. All right, now we're back. Breathe, release, and let go. Have an exceptional Facebook Live for you this afternoon. It's going to be a little short today because I have a lot of moving parts. I'm going to cut it short about 5 minutes or so today because the moving parts are moving very fast today. Topic for today's Facebook Live is one of my all-time favorites, Principles for Prosperity. This is an audio CD that I produced back in the day. Look at this. This was 2000, originally on cassette, 1999 actually. 6 cassette audio program. I will let the Facebook Live populate and then move into the inspirational portion of today's Facebook Live. I see Bob Campbell and John McFadden, a couple of Chicago boys. Good to see you this afternoon. Are you experiencing winter in Chicagoland? It is a cold, rainy afterday here in California. So good to be here with you on a Tuesday, middle of January 2024. Good to be here with you. Topic for today's Facebook Live is Principles for Prosperity. So I'm going to go back to the back of this Facebook, or this right here. You deserve to have it all. I used to say that frequently. And look at that picture of me back in the day. The picture was taken in 1999. So there's a lot of content. And those of you who coach with me, you do not have this in your back office. If you do want this content, you can purchase it directly off of my website at goldenmastermind.com. And the history of that was my version of content that I originally learned in the mid-1990s called Prosperity Consciousness by the great Frederick Lehrman. I was so moved by his content on your dialogue with money, and that's where I learned that term, your dialogue with money, and then I added is improving. Phil Lott was the 20,000 Meals with the Wrong Financial Planners, the author of the highly inspiring book, Money is My Friend, and I had the privilege of being Phil's coach in 2000, 2001, and 2002, and I shared the stage with him multiple times and shared the stage with the great Frederick Lehrman many, many times in my career. So the term prosperity comes from the term Prospero in Latin, and it means to flow. Those of you who are down the rabbit hole and you follow Jordan Maxwell. Now, for those of you who don't follow Jordan Maxwell, Google on YouTube Jordan Maxwell and look up maritime law. He has absolutely top-tier content on the law of the land and the law of the sea. And so in prosperity is flow. And the great Stuart Wilde has a book called Little Money Bible, and in chapter 2 it's called Finding Flow. And that's what prosperity is. It's in the flow. It's to be in a flow state where life is moving with you. You're moving with life. You're in the flow of life, not in the resistance of it. So money is coming to you easily and effortlessly. People are showing up in a way that's conducive to production and results. Customers and clients are paying you on time, and people are liking your content and your posts. People are virtually showing up. It's a flow of attraction, and the energy that you're transmitting and transmuting is flow energy. And it's the energy of love, joy, bliss, and you're not in any anger, you're not in any resentment, you're not in any hate, you're not in any rage. You're in a state of flow, and you're not worried about the future hasn't happened, and you're not in rejection or abandonment. You're not in the lower level of emotions that are produced by anxiety, fear, and doubt. You're in the flow, you're in understand, and you know, and you're aware, and you're in that flow. You're in the flow, people are showing up for you. They're coming to you, and you have more leads than you have time. You have more customers than you can service. You have more employees applying for your jobs. You have people who are ready to purchase from you because you're in that state of flow. Now, when you're in your resistance, you're going to be in poverty, lack. You're going to be in overwhelmed feelings. You're going to be in lead poverty. You're going to be wondering where the next paycheck is going to come from. And then when you're coming from desperation, your prospects feel it. Your teammates feel it. Your family feels it. People in your circle of influence. You're on edge and you're not in that flow. And then you will tend to attract people and situations to fulfill those feelings called the payoff. And the payoff is the addiction to experiencing anxiety, fear, and doubt. And that's what's called the experiencer. And when you're in that experience of anxiety, fear, and doubt, you are definitely not in the flow. So for you, those of you who just came on Facebook Live, this is old school content of mine. Look at me back in the day. I was 40 years old when I produced this back in the day, 41 years old. And look at this picture of me. That was a picture of me back in 1999. So this is old school content that I produced back in the day. So take a look at this. There's are the original CD sets that I produced. This is 8 CD audio. The content still stands alone. You can purchase it on my website, goldenmastermind.com. So I have been teaching prosperity skills and prosperity consciousness for well over 25 years. Steve Spangenberg is on today's call. Steve is the author of the highly inspiring book, Money Does Grow on Trees. Steve is a retired top-tier CPA and personal accountant. Steve is living the good life, and he lives in Australia with his lovely wife, Leanne. And Steve retired to live the good life and flow, and Steve retired as a published author and as a top-tier certified public accountant, and was once the public accountant. Steve, weren't you the accountant of Myron Golden for years? Myron Golden is just a top-tier influencer in today's world, and I believe Steve was once his accountant. I shared the stage with Steve and Myron multiple times back in the day. Steve was my client back in the day when I produced this, back in the early 2000s. So Prospero and Nicole, good to see you this afternoon. Tony, good to see you. I saw Aaron, always good to see you. So if you're on today's content, prosperity means prospero in Latin. It means in the flow. And so in that flow, you're not in resistance. You're not in your head. You're not in your left brain. You're not in brain fog. You're in a relaxed state. Nicole, good to see you. Look forward to coaching you tonight. So Nicole, be in that flow tonight when we connect. I look forward to our coaching session. You absolutely deserve to be in the flow. And some of you that, if you follow some of the people I've coached in my career, some of my clients are just absolutely crushing it. Brittany Carr is a woman I highly endorse and recommend. I've been her coach since 2014. I'm on 10 years of coaching her. Josh Waxman, if you follow him on Instagram, and he is an exceptional financial money coach. He crushes videos on the whiteboard on Instagram, Josh Waxman. Steve, he's a Philly boy from South Philly. He owned Tulee's Hoagie House back in the day. And so I've coached many, many people who have assisted to cross that bridge of resistance to in the flow. I presently coach 7 women who are achieving at least $20,000 plus a month with children from the comfort of their home. Ted Hannick has joined us. Ted is a highly inspiring entrepreneur. Ted is a Emmy Award winning producer from The Simpsons who is an exceptional man. I highly recommend you follow him. Dana, good to see you this afternoon. For those of you who are seeking coaching this year, don't stay in resistance. Don't wait till the last minute when it's perfect. Reach out to me and figure out how to attract your reality, the resources, so I can assist you to be in the flow. So the flow is also this. It's the hands-free zone. Your hands free. You're in 5th and 6th gear. It's overdrive. You're in the flow. It's also called the zone. And in that zone state, meet people and money come to you. They show up. The customers, the clients. It's more of an effortless ease. You also have to pay the dues without knowing the cost. That's one of my quotes that I've used for many, many years. And so in the flow, you're in a state of power, not force. When you're in force, you're in desperation. In power, you're in inspiration. When you're in power, you're in your power. And in that power, it's an emotional, etheric energy that is transcending and transmuting through you telepathically, that's saying, I'm enough, I'm in the flow, I'm good enough, you deserve to mentor with me, you deserve to join my team, you deserve to collaborate with me. There's an effortless ease to it. When you're in resistance, you're not sure if you can lead someone. You're worried they might find out how challenged you are. You're in this state of anger where you're not transmuting love, joy, and bliss. And you're in that edgy edge that creates the grind that I lived with for many years. It's called clenching. I'm a recovering clencher, where I created a migraine headache for 6 years. In my first 6 years of sobriety, because my ego was like, you're way behind. You made so many mistakes. You're never going to catch up. You have so much debt. I mean, then I'm in a panic pattern, brain fog, overwhelmed feelings, desperate, and I'm definitely not attracting the top tier teammates that I require to attract to create a multiple 6 and 7 figure enterprise. And that's why for the first 8 years of my career, I was a noble struggler. Now, this was 8 years of sobriety, but it was also 8 years of free enterprise business that I wasn't in that flow. I was still in the alcoholic, addicted brain fog and codependent brain fog, in the residual effect of not really understanding how to let go. The game changed for me as I started to understand the term let go and let God, but then the next level of that term was understanding the neuroscience of letting go, the reflex of letting go of the fight or flight mechanism, letting go of the payoff. So I'm not recreating the same situation to fulfill the neurochemical craving that I'd become addicted to: anger, resentment, hate, rage, frustration, and especially disappointment. I am recovering from being a recovering disappointer. I would find ways to disappoint myself, and I would also have other people disappoint me so I could fulfill my disappointment, which definitely did not keep me in the flow. It kept me in force. And then I felt like I had to do everything from the team I built, and there weren't any good prospects out there. So a series of stories kept me from my flow. Breakthroughs for me really started to happen in 1996 as I started to really understand this content of prosperity. And so in prosperity, there is no lack. In prosperity, there's an abundance of resources available to all of us in the universe. And there's also God, when you can learn to really surrender to God, and you can learn to surrender to that anxiety and that fear and that doubt you hold on to. And you let go of that anxiety about the future that hasn't happened. You learn to focus on results and the solution. And you begin to really let go of that unresolved trauma that you've held on to. Trauma creates brain fog. Brain fog creates indecisiveness and doubt. Brain fog creates procrastination and avoidance. Brain fog creates decisions that aren't sound, which then lead to anger. And in those situations, when you're in that state, you're going to attract your reality, people and situations to fulfill the feelings of lack, poverty consciousness, broke thoughts, overwhelmed, money issues that aren't conducive to attracting people you can create it with, and most importantly, frustration, disappointment. And as you begin to have a better understanding that letting go is a reflex, and as you begin to let go of how much resistance you are to letting go of control, because what many people do is they try and control the outcome, that what they end up is in control of being out of control. And when you're in that state of overwhelmed consciousness, you're going to be frustrated and disappointed. You'll be in anxiety, fear, and doubt, attracting to reality scarcity consciousness and other people that will keep you feeling that disappointment. As you begin to really trust the universe, I'm going to show you one book. This is another prosperity book right here. It's called Secret of Unlimited Prosperity, a little tiny book by the great Catherine Ponder. I have 4 of her books, The Dynamic Law of Prosperity. So there's a message from the author. This book was written in 1982. Catherine Ponder was a Unity minister. Tracy, good to see you this afternoon. Debbie Fair, always good to see you. Melina, good to see you. Good to see all of you here this afternoon. This is a really, really good little book, easy read. And the first chapter is The Secret of Unlimited Prosperity. It means It's our responsibility to turn on the flow rather than be in a state where we can't turn the water on. So water is flow. Water is energy. Water is electricity. Water is a river. Water is an ocean. Water can be harnessed. Water has power. A wave has power. But when you're in force, it's like there is no flow. When you're in force, you're in resistance. When you're in resistance, you're in struggle. When you're in struggle, it affects your gut. It affects your upper cervical. It affects the prostate. It affects the bladder. It affects your lumbar. There's many effects when you're in this struggle mode, this trauma bond, these panic patterns that we're in. So it's imperative that today, after this call, meditate for just a few seconds, a few minutes. Breathe, release, and let go. Reset your reticular activating system. Reset your amygdala. Take a long, deep breath. Access your abdomen. Breathe, release, and let go. Say the word prosperity consciousness. Say the two words back to back. Prosperity consciousness. If you own a business, say the words my enterprise. Say it slow, articulate it, enunciate it. Take ownership. Take command that you're in free enterprise where you can create what the free market will bear. In the hands-free zone. These are principles for prosperity right here. So you learn to be of service to people. You learn to produce from your value and service. You learn how to be prosperous by when you're dining and you have people that are serving you. Feel prosperous and reward them with tips. And if you want to tithe. Be willing to let go of money rather than have this struggle consciousness. And I told a young woman yesterday, she said, I'm desperate to hire you. Well, that's not the words that I'm looking for. Be committed to hiring me. If you're desperate, you've shut off the flow. And she said, well, I only have a credit score of 530 and I have 2 children and you have no idea what I'm going through. And I need your services. And I had to stop her and said, breathe. Release and let go. So you deserve my services. You don't need them. Need is desperation. Deserve is Latin, means deservie, day of service. I would be honored to be of service to you. And she goes, I'm grasping it. And I said to her, ask the universe to deliver for you. She goes, what does that mean? I go, it means what it means. It means put the thought out there. Put the feelings out there. Have money show up to you in miraculous ways. Have money come to you in the mail. And when you begin to let go of this poverty consciousness, it's amazing what begins to show up. I mean, I've found money in multiple places. I found $200 once. The IRS sent me a check for $10,437, and my accountant never figured that out because there was not an overpayment. And I never questioned it. I never called them. I never questioned the universe for delivering, but I have a copy of that, $10,437. My accountant, who was a top-tier accountant, he never did figure out how that happened. We just let that go to the universe. And so this is what you learn to understand. When you put the feelings, when you put the energy into the universe, when you come from value, service, deserve, and prosperity, you're going to have a much higher probability of the people or the money showing up. I mean, it absolutely can happen to you. And when you let go of this struggle, trauma bond, overwhelmed feelings, lack, scarcity, poverty consciousness that you've been conditioned to behave by your parents, society, the government, the agenda, the WO, and all these other organizations, when you begin to let go of these feelings of lack and you let go of the trauma-based mind control and you start to see the signs and the symbols and you understand how the Federal Reserve really operates and you begin to go down that rabbit hole and understand that the Fed operates off a 9-to-1 principle. For every one, they can borrow 9. And so when you understand that it's not that difficult to create money and that your scarcity and poverty consciousness is a lack of your own inexperience and own education of universal laws and truth, and you let go of this struggle consciousness that you hold on to, you're going to start to open the universe for you to receive. My name is Jeffery Combs, President and Founder, Golden Mastermind Seminars Incorporated. If you're on today's call and you'd like to discuss one-on-one coaching with me, feel free to reach out with me. If you're an existing client or a former client, I would be honored to be your coach in 2024. Or if you're brand new to my content, feel free to send me a message. I would be honored to connect with you. So Fani, good to see you this afternoon. Good to see everyone here this afternoon. David, good to see you. Breathe, release, and let go. Kevin, good to see you. Jennifer, always good to see you. Jennifer, thank you for all of your comments and your likes. I definitely appreciate your prosperity consciousness. Have an outstanding afternoon, everyone. Henry, good to see you, my man. Henry, I look forward to coaching you this afternoon. Debbie Fair is also a long time client. Debbie goes back to 2002 with me and lives very close to me here in Central California. Aaron, also, thank you very much for all your kind and generous comments. Good afternoon, everyone.